All right, welcome everybody. This is SIG Windows regular weekly meeting. We are part of the CNCF and we will be following the CNCF Code of Conduct. If you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to myself or any other leads in the SIG Windows community. Today's May 25th, so welcome. And before we get into the agenda here, we typically try to open it up for anyone that is new to the community and wants to introduce themselves and say hello, and maybe tell us a little bit about what you're here for, why you're interested in SIG Windows, anything that is relevant to any of that. So, is there anybody that is on the call that would like to introduce themselves? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and get started on the announcements. If you have anything you want to discuss for the regular meeting, you can just add it to the end of the list here, add it to the agenda, and we'll make sure we have time to get to it. To get started, I wanted to, for announcements, we have the host process PR merged, which is huge. That's been in work since I think February-ish, and even longer with the KEP and doing all the planning for that. So congratulations to everybody that was involved in that. This means it'll be in alpha for 1.22 when it releases. And as of right now, any containerd component should, you can use any containerd version because we passed the annotations down through. But you do need to use this particular PR that's linked here for HCS shim. And you have to build the containerd shim from that PR currently. We're working to get that merged. Once that's merged, we'll bump the version in containerd, and we should be able to build, you should be able to use the released versions of containerd with this. Are there any questions or comments?
Just wondering about that PR that I've had open for a while. So I probably now need to revisit for containerd about the CNI networking. I guess we need to probably test that out. So I might be looking for volunteers at some point once I've tested it and rebased it and done everything myself. But it basically just means, hopefully with that PR means that we should be able to spin up CNI pods. Because at the moment, I don't think it does. So it seemed to be okay, but I didn't manage to get it fully tested with the annotations after they changed. So we just need to revisit that to make sure. I think Danny's already been through it. But yeah, there's a bit more to do.
Yep, cool. Yeah, so that's specifically for being able to run pods as a host network and start them up before the network's set up, right?
Yeah, because otherwise what happens is they say there's no CNI, so then no CNI ever starts if you're trying to run a CNI pod in host process. So cool. That'd be good.
Yeah, so I've started the work to get the test running in Cluster API for Azure. And so I'll probably be testing that out this week. So.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Any other comments or thoughts? Cool. KubeCon videos, they got posted. I think there was one other Windows one, but I wasn't able to find it. I don't know if anybody has a link to it. But this one was the one done by Kalia and David and Mark and Jay. Particularly has some really interesting information around networking for Windows. Really great overview of how all that works. So I recommend checking it out. But there's also a bunch of other KubeCon videos out there as well.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Kalia and David and Mark and Jay. I guess yesterday I watched this video on during the lunch break. I think it's really insightful. We get a lot of questions about networking, and they probably answered most of them. Especially the architecture diagrams they presented was very helpful for showing the difference between Linux and Windows networking stack. So I would highly encourage folks to watch it, or like if people have questions about networking, we should share this as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and then so there was a issue found recently for kubeproxy. Essentially, it crashed kubeproxy if you pass the wrong load balancers, and this can cause all sorts of behavior. But you might see resets on some services for any open connections. And so we've backported that to 119, 120, and 121. Make sure you go ahead and pick that up. It's going to help with stability of your services across the port. Is there anybody from the networking team that might be able to speak to that? I don't see David on the call.
I'm not from the networking team, but I can give you. I'm the one who found the bug actually. So
great.
So what happens is if you have a load balancer, and if you have pods that are distributed across different nodes, when you try to hit that endpoint, you'll end up with a kubeproxy crash. So it had something to do with the ref counting not being applied appropriately, and I think Shravant from Microsoft is the one who had that fix. And it's interesting, if you bring up the deployment and you don't wait for it to go running, and then you hit the service, and then you bring up the service, you won't see this issue. But otherwise you will see this issue. But hopefully this should be fixed now.
Awesome, thanks for finding that. Any questions?
Is that relevant to user space as well as, can't remember the other name,
the kernel, right? I've only found this with the kubeproxy running in kernel mode. I haven't tried it with the user mode one. Maybe it's there, but I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think so, because when I compared the code between user and kernel, I couldn't find the similar things, but I'm not a kubeproxy expert. So I'm just giving that statement from just reading the code.
Okay. I think Jay probably knows a bit more about it than I do, so I might point him at this direction to make sure that he knows about it if he hasn't picked it up already.
He was asking the same question, in fact, to Shravant. I don't know whether he got an answer.
Okay. I'll find out.
All right. And so, Muzz, I think you were talking about this one last week with Docker Shim.
Yeah, I added this to the agenda quickly as a reminder. So I think Jing and I from Microsoft, we created, because we've heard from customers and different folks struggling with moving to Containerd, especially even if they move, they want some time for stabilization. So that's what's concerning. So we created an issue. I could link the issue here, and we posted it on SIG Windows and SIG Node and tagged Tim's. He came back and he said that we have updated the cap, and it will be removed in 124. So he confirmed that it won't be removed before 124. You will get a warning, but the Docker shim is still there until 120. 124 is the first release where Docker shim won't be there. And the expected date for, if we can look at the history, the expected date for 124 is somewhere early next year. So like, February or March 2022. So that gives us almost 1 year for stabilization and getting confidence before they're like forced to stop using Docker and Containerd. So I just wanted to share this with the group, and I hope this is good news for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for following up on that. And somebody else say something?
Hey, everybody.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So thank you for following up on that. I think that's going to be good for folks as they transition over to Containerd. It's exciting. All right. Somebody add Windows Server SAC evaluation versions.
That's me as well. So Aravind and Jake tagged me. I think initially there was a question posted in SIG Windows. People wanted to contribute to SIG Windows. The problem is becoming Windows Server license. How they probably won't want to buy licenses, and we agree. So I've started internal conversation, and the feedback we got is we will try to work on a developer program in future to give licenses out for free. But until then, there are a couple of options. I think I presented it in the notes, and one of them is like using evaluation Windows Server. It's completely fine. You'll get it for 180 days. But Aravind brought up a point that the evaluation version for Windows Server is not showing for SAC releases, like 2004 or 20H1 and 20H2. So I'm going back, just confirming that, I looked at the link. Yes, it's not showing. So I'll go back to the licensing team and see what's the detail. I'll give you an update next week.
And a little bit more to add to that, is that we did some more digging and we found that link that I sent. Apparently, there's no eval because it's you can only get it through, what is the verbiage that I found? It's, yeah, you can
Through
only
partner.
Yeah, it's available through volume licensed customers with software assurance and loyalty programs. And so we finally went back to our MSDN subscription, and we interestingly found it, but not under the list of operating systems. It was somewhere else. But we were finally able to get an ISO from using our MSDN subscription, but it was not obvious, which is why I, initially posted like, we have an MSDN subscription, we're not able to find it, but for some reason it was not listed under operating systems. I should ask the person who found it where exactly they discovered it in MSDN.
Yeah, that would be good to know. And if you can post it, I could go back to the MSDN team or Visual Studio team and say that they could fix the tagging or something.
Okay.
Because I didn't even know. I think from MSDN it should never be a problem. I was even thinking if somebody doesn't have MSDN, then how they will get it. That's the question I'm asking the licensing team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one last update, Aravind, if you want to talk about the cap of node logs getting merged, I'm very interested in that, and thank you for driving that. If you want to give a quick update there, are you planning to like do the PR for 122, like
Correct,
the actual
yes.
code? Okay.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned it in the last SIG Windows call also. So me and Christian from Red Hat are currently working on it. Hopefully we'll get it in. At the moment, I'm working on adding the feature flag on the kubelet side, so that only with the feature flag will this feature be enabled. So that's exactly what I'm working on in my spare cycles.
Okay, sounds good. And then once you have this, we are like, I'm at least interested in one of the cases, which is getting GMSA logs from the event log windows for this. So we'll probably get some devs. We'll try to get some devs from Microsoft side or from the GMSA team to try it out once the PR is in.
Yeah,
one of the
I'll tag you on the PR once I push my changes and it's ready for at least trying out some basic stuff. Everything might not work, but you might be able to try out some basic stuff, because I don't know how many people follow, but that node log cap has become more involved now. I have to do stuff for even pod logs, this heuristic approach that Tim Hawken wanted. So it's a little bit more involved. So to get everything done, it's going to take a while. But as and when like basic features start working, maybe I'll tag you, Moz, and you can ask people to try it out. It'll be a little bit more involved to try it out, though. You have to compile the kubelet and kubectl.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just tag me and I'll see what we could do. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Great to see that moving forward. All right. Is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up ad hoc here?
I did wonder. Sorry.
Go ahead, Perry.
Thanks. I was just wondering if anyone else is starting to see this. There's been an ongoing sort of like on and off error message that keeps coming up in various issues about the access denied log message. And it came up again while I was doing testing this week. And one of the things I think you put on that particular issue, James, was about CPU spiking and then causing it. But it seems to just be runtime agnostic. It seems to happen on Docker and on Containerd, I think. And I'm starting to wonder whether there's something in K8s that's causing it in terms of logging or something like that. But I wondered if anyone had any ideas of things where we could kind of start trying to chase it down, because it seems to just be ever present if you've got a lot of pods starting and stopping and high CPU load, that this access denied log error happens like frequently with, I don't know if anyone else is sort of seeing it or has any ideas.
Yeah, so Jeremy was able to reproduce this, and I was trying to get to the issue, but it's going to make me do my two-factor authentication. And so but I think we have a pretty consistent repo in the Microsoft Windows containers repository. And he was able to reproduce it on GCE. I was able to reproduce it on Azure, but haven't had a chance to get back to trying it. So maybe we can link to that here and have somebody take a look at it.
I did have a theory, but it's a bit of a wild out there theory. There's a mutex lock on log files in that happens regularly, where it basically cycles through, gets all the pod log, like all the pods inside the kubelet, and then it like locks the log file while it's truncating it. And I wondered whether that was doing something where it was locking the file out and then not unlocking it if there's some high CPU that causes some failure and then never kind of recovers, like some thread that's got locked. But yeah, that's the only thing that I've found so far, but it's annoying me, and I was wondering if anyone else has got any ideas.
Barry, this scenario that you tried, I'll take a look as well, but if it's in the Windows container repo, but was this like a new thing you discovered? Like, was this scenario working before of accessing log files? Did something change? Like, what's the change here?
So this happened a while ago. Once we switched to Containerd, this was probably back in November, maybe. There's a kube issue, which if I could find, I would send it to you. Basically, it seems to be, we were running the network. So Jay and I were working on network policy tests for Windows, and it spawns a lot of AGN host pods up and down, quite a fast pace, right? So it comes up and tests and then tears them down. Seems to increase CPU load quite a lot, and we see this, and it basically just crashes out the test pretty reliably within a few minutes of starting it. It sort of crashes out, but it seems to only be when you're putting the node under quite a lot of load and creating and tearing down pods quite frequently. So it might be an edge case, but it's still something that seems a bit strange, that it's just locking out. And it's, for us, it's Containerd, but I think I've seen the message on, a lot of people are seeing the same kind of message on Docker as well.
Is this the error message?
I can't see your screen. All I can see is single sign on to.
Sorry, I switched to. Okay, you see that.
Yeah, it's similar. I think obviously now it would be a different path for the log file, but it is access denied. We don't see terminating though. It kind of disappears out of Kate's with our use case. So Kate's will forget about it, but then when you go in the kubelet logs, it's just constantly cycling, saying this pod's like not deleting, and then
so this here is the repo that Jeremy shared with us. So if you try that on Containerd and see if it repos, I think it probably is some sort of race in there.
So Barry, is this the issue?
It's a similar issue. Let me find the one. James was on the issue with my one as well. Let me see if they look the same to everyone else. Maybe I'm seeing something that people don't. Maybe it's not, but.
Since you reproduced this issue, did you check if the containers were stopped at all, or they were
they're still there. They just hang around,
and they're still running, right?
Yeah, they're still running, and you can't open the log file yourself because it tells you access is denied, but the pods are still there in the background. So if you do cry-cuttle or CTR. The pods are still there, but Kubernetes for us, at least, just basically just forgot about them. But the kubelet log shows a very, very different story.
I wonder why it tries to remove them before it stops them. I mean, why? So there might be something missing somewhere.
This issue goes back quite a way, so I'm just trying to find it again.
I mean, from what I'm thinking right now, it kind of seems like the containers are never stopped. When it then tries to remove the containers and the pods and the logs and everything. That's just a guess at the moment, but still wondering why.
Just dropped it in the chat, James, is the one that we were looking at.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was trying to take some notes there, but it's not cooperating. Here's the chat.
I mean, if you want a reliable reproducer, just run those net poll tests on Windows that I think I put on a branch and I mentioned it on there, but it will quite quickly lock you, like the test will stop, and then in the background in the kubelet logs, you'll just see this container log manager failure constantly moaning about access denied, and the pods are still there, but kubelet's lost them.
Barry, are you trying this with containerd 1.5?
This was 1.44, but it's been happening on like 1.43 as well. So 1.43, 44. I can try it on 1.5. You know, at this point in time, my guess is that it's runtime agnostic, because I don't think we see this in like containerd stress tests or anything. I think we only really see this, from what I can tell, on kubelet.
So I'm not finding access denied in this particular issue.
If you go to the last log, maybe I uploaded the wrong part of the log, but it was definitely access denied. And it was the controller log manager is it access is denied?
Well, it's saying the ND client should deny ingress access to updated pod, but it's not saying it's denied. Barry.
Let me find, maybe I didn't add the latest
There's
log.
this reopen container log, failed to create and open the log, which is different than the issue over here. Anyways, we can maybe follow up offline and see if you're seeing either one of these and go from there.
I can quite quickly reproduce, so I'll just grab it when we and then update that with the latest log message that I got. But it all seems the same use case. We just get these pods left behind and then kubelet cycling. Jay, did the network policy tests merge, or are they still in a PR?
Oh God, we had like a change in util that required another approver from another SIG, and then they had some other comments. So I am literally rebasing and pushing those up now, the Windows thing, and I just added a Windows model to it because that was what they wanted.
Okay.
And I think it should be LGTM any second now. So hopefully they'll merge today.
Cool.
David,
And
you
yeah.
have something to share? Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, so yeah, we can use that as kind of a general integration test as well, because if, like you said, it spins up the containers and probes from them and seems to be able to reproduce strange issues at times. So yeah, I think there could be a whole family of tests that flow from this. We'll see.
Yeah, thanks, Maz. I just wanted to ask, I joined the meeting a bit late. Did we go over the kubeproxy issue? I saw it was in the notes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
and Amaranth gave us a quick rundown on it.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. That's all.
All right, well, it's 10 o'clock, so we'll call it good for today, and we'll see you all next week. We'll see you all on Slack if you have any questions. I think we also do SIG Windows after hours now, and Jay will lead that, so I'll hand it over to him. I'll stop the recording here, and we'll hand it over to Jay to lead that with us. So if you're interested in doing some hands-on, going through some PRs and other work like that, stick around. Thanks. See y'all.
Goodbye.
Hey everyone. Okay.